Welcome to our session on architectural woodwork, which is comprised of two sections: wood paneling, you see on the left, and cabinetry, which you see on the right. Wood paneling includes wood-clad and laminate-clad paneling. Wood paneling is typically designed as either raised paneling or flush paneling. In addition to panels of wood, the supporting framework may hold glass, mirror, or louvers. Custom-made wall paneling, whether covering the entire wall surface or only part of it, is made in sections and fitted together using traditional joinery techniques like tongue-and-groove connections. To meet sustainability objectives of a project, the use of FSC certified woods is recommended. Just like doors, vertical frame pieces of paneling and cabinetry are called stiles, and the horizontal members are called rails. Milled trims, moldings, baseboards, and wall paneling designed for commercial interiors must comply with building codes that address interior finish flame spread criteria. These architectural details act as fuel in case of a fire, and depending on the material, can emit toxic chemicals when ignited. Although fire treated, but still combustible, trims are required by code to be limited in application to 10% of the combined area of walls and ceilings for the space where installed. To compensate for the constant expanding and contraction of wood due to humidity changes, the designer of the paneling needs to provide for a pocket or expansion space using the trim and blocking to allow the panels to expand and contract within. As seen on the left, the insert panel is not glued. That is, it is independent of the frame. Here's an example. It's independent of the frame. You can see the insert or expansion space has some space for this panel to expand into, depending on the humidity in the room. And it remains so with this gap throughout its useful life to allow for that expansion and contraction. To conceal the movement of panels, traditional woodworkers use trim pieces. Look at the diagram on the right side of the slide for the piece of trim called the sticking. Notice how its presence is intended to conceal the expansion space into which the edge banding of the panel can move with its humidity change. Contemporary or modern wood paneling is flush or flat, creating a smooth, uninterrupted surface. It is installed with narrow recesses between panels. These small recesses are called reveals. Reveals add interesting three-dimensional effects, as well as allowing for the imperceptible accommodation for the expansion and contraction of the wood. Trim can be defined as decorative woodwork. We're going to look at this and the next few slides to learn more about trim. As we said before, trim includes both interior and exterior elements of the construction. Pieces of trim are called stools or aprons. Apron, window stool. Crown moldings. Wall base. Chair rails. Keeps our chairs from knocking and destroying our walls when we lean back. Miscellaneous panel moldings to make up shadow lines and other articulations. Quarter and half round moldings, oftentimes used to conceal the intersection of two dissimilar materials. Picture rails, old-fashioned type of picture rail where the actual picture was hung by a wire from a hook on the rail. They didn't want to destroy the plaster. As this slide illustrates, that wood in humidity expands, and as the environment dries, the wood will contract. In the case, you've seen it from our illustrations, that wood is generally small in dimension, and therefore the shrinkage or expansion is negligible, we don't care about then gluing it or fastening it mechanically in place. We do care when it comes to the larger pieces, we do care when it comes to these larger pieces or elements of panels. With custom wood paneling, the designer needs to think of every condition and detail it properly for construction by the fabricator and the installer. This thought process extends to even an understanding of how the paneling is to be hung on the wall. The direct attachment method is used for projects of limited budget. For projects of less limited monetary constraints, it is recommended to use the method of panel attachment shown on this and the next couple of slides. The use of furring strips allow the carpenter to mount the fine paneling perfectly vertical, despite whether or not the wall behind it is out of alignment. This is the furring strips that the carpenter is installing. This furring strip needs to be flush with this furring strip and the furring strip below so that they align perfectly, even though the wall may be itself out of alignment. The panels are hung with wood cleats or Z-clips. These are examples of Z-clips. These are examples of wood cleats. You see how this one is attached to the wall, the bottom one is attached to the wall. The upper one is attached to the panel itself, and then when you set them down, they interlock and gravity holds the panel in place. There's no puncturing of the panel itself. These are Z-clips. There must be sufficient space near the ceiling for the panel to be lifted up and over the clip or cleat and then lowered into place. The resulting gap may be left as a reveal or may be covered with a trim piece or filled. Likewise, the panel may extend to the floor or be held short of the floor so that a separate base can be installed. These types of panel attachment work by gravity, and no additional mechanical fasteners are necessary. These methods also allow for periodic changing or alternating of the paneling with other panels. Finish carpenters and craftspeople work to strict quality standards, which the rough wall and floor framers do not. Therefore, there is often a disparity between the wall upon which paneling or cabinetry will be mounted and the tolerances within which the finished carpenters or craftspersons requires. In this case, the use of shims becomes necessary. The deeper the tapered shim is inserted behind the furring channel or door jamb or other object, the further out that object is positioned away from the wall. In this manner, it is possible to perfectly plumb the object, although the surface behind that object may not be perfectly plumb. The same is true for leveling and positioning an object, such as a bathroom vanity or kitchen floor cabinet, on an out-of-level ceiling or floor. Another condition which affects finished carpentry is when the walls are out of square to one another. That is, the walls are not exactly at 90 degrees one to the other. In this case, the use of scribing is required to assure a neat appearing fit. Scribing is one of the key techniques for installing cabinets, countertops, and built-in woodwork. Scribing is a simple technique that lets you fit cabinets, countertops, moldings, and almost anything else to crooked walls. Using an inexpensive compass fitted with a sharp pencil, the installer transfers odd shapes or the profile of a varying wavy wall to the item to be installed. Once the line is scribed, it is a matter of filing, planing, or sanding off the excess material to create a nearly seamless fit. In some situations, it may also be acceptable to actually cut out the gypsum wallboard at the object's edge, slide the object in place, and repair the gypsum wallboard. Band edging is available in many different thicknesses, materials, and colors. A designer may choose to accentuate the joint where the edge band and the board meet, or to try to conceal it. Show you here an example of an edge band which the designer decided to use in order to contrast to the main object material. Edge banding is available in many different thicknesses, materials, and colors. The designer may choose to accentuate the joint where the edge band and the board meet, or try to conceal it. Either way, the connection between the edge band and the board needs to have a strong bond. We have here an example of a spline. A spline is a connection, an interior connection between two pieces of wood to hold those wood pieces strongly together so that the surfaces of the boards don't become misaligned. The connection also needs a neat appearance. Here's that spline. Without that spline, the surfaces may become uneven. So millwork for commercial projects include custom designed built-ins, bookcases, reception desks, and any other similar item which form a part of the finished carpentry that completes a design aesthetic. Concept drawings are sketched first, then final working drawings are produced as part of the construction document package. So we're going to proceed now for the next several slides to study the construction and detailing of each panel type we've spoken about so far. So here we have a cross section through a modern flat panel with the reveal. There's also a re-entering corner at the outside corner. The re-entering corner helps to alleviate any chipping as someone turns that corner. 90-degree edge is not apt to be hit. We have here a modern flat panel with reveal at the top. This is an axonometric, the wall meeting the ceiling. There's the little reveal. Next we have a modern flat panel with reveal in elevation. This is the reveal. You can see in the profile how the niche gets recessed. We have modern flat panel with reveal in perspective view. This is at the Four Seasons restaurant, the former Four Seasons restaurant private dining room. Modern flat panel with panel trim in reveal. This is a vertical section. Take a look at it at your own pace. And modern flat panel with panel trim in reveal in an axonometric and an elevation. Take a look and understand the detailing. We have a horizontal section of a corner with a 90-degree angle. You can see the little spline there. It's cut on a bias on a 45-degree miter. Makes for a very strong connection. And a vertical cut through something more traditional, though not raised paneling, flat paneling. Take a look at this and continue on at your own pace. Here is another corner. You can see the projection here and here of the trim pieces, a flat veneer panel between those trim pieces. Again, the spline and the trim piece cut on a 45 degree cut, called a miter, and it mentions here a veneer panel, so we know that that's plywood and has different veneer finish, such as these very thin veneers. You can pick the color and the type of wood that you want for your client. You can see from the this box that there's a lot of different selections for face veneers. Here is the traditional column in the corner of a raised panel room. The detailing that this designer used. You can create your own detailing for your unique design. A horizontal corner section through a wall showing the raised panel, and traditional raised panel with sticking. Here's a little piece of that sticking. It gives just a little shadow line. You can see it right here, just a little shadow line for additional articulation, but also as a way to camouflage the expansion gap for the panel itself. Another horizontal view through a raised panel wall with the sticking again. And this is a detail through a wainscoting with sticking. This is actually a drawing showing the bench assembly in the lobby at our East 70th Street campus in Manhattan. Then we have traditional flat paneling with sticking, so this panel is flat, not a raised panel. You can see here very nicely notated section through that panel indicating various standard trim types and how they are assembled to create a nice traditional look. So that's been your introduction to architectural wood paneling. Thank you.